did nested fields and magic. I kept trying like different things, so I ended up doing it like a really long way.
See, that's why I like totally separated in different arrays. So I sorted the arrays.
Yeah, no. So what I did, the reason I had separate arrays is because the array that came from objects, I didn't know how to index and also get the field total EV.
So I created a new array with everything I wanted, right? Total EV.
Yeah, see, I tried that and it wasn't working for me when I do a dot for a field.
So basically I'm taking that Elixir result and then I made a new array with all this information.
Yeah.
And then I made 3 new different arrays and then did a filter on that.
That's nice. Mine's definitely longer because I could.
Yeah, and then I sorted each one. After I stored and then I kept it.
Yeah.
What then?
What?
In this order.
Are you sure that it's sorted with that?
Yeah.
When you print out the sorted array?
So between that one. Okay, so these are my results. Come on. So if you get this, so this difference is 0, then that's the independent. So so yeah, all the independent are right here. So all the okay, so okay.
You sorted based off of row. Because you're actually, yeah, for independent, you still have to sort it by total EV.
Yeah. So first I'm putting independent in the first, so it goes top right, and then after that I'm sorting it.
Is that what you printed out?
Yeah, so I'm just printing out the whole array. So
Print it out once you've sorted it.
This is sorted. So my EV is right, okay?
Oh, your EV is right. That's not sorted, but because it's 12 and then 12 is high. So
12, 10, and then 10. So it's sorted. And then check that.
So you have already gone through the homework file? Okay, how is it like? How do you feel? Easier than homework 4?
No?
It is actually. Don't worry. The main ambition of this, like the thing that you should learn from this project, this assignment, is basically the architecture thing, and the brushes. These two are the new things that you're going to learn. And after homework 4, I don't think anything else you're going to find hard or like something like that. So anyone want to do the file structure of this project? This homework? No. So basically you see, this time this is proper directory structure that we are following. All your codes are in the CSS and JS, this folder. And each chart is present in each of the JavaScript file. Here chart, like the circle thing that's coming in the top right, that's here. This is the second bar chart. This is the periodic table thing that you're seeing, right? State chart. So everything in the state chart. So we want you to like follow this kind of convention if you're going to project. So that helps like whenever you're working group, one guy is working on this, the other guy can work on that. So in that way your code is modularized, it's like readable and easier to understand for any other people. So this is the main file, the main.js, where all the connection happening. Let me show you that. Yeah. So in the main.js, they create all the instances of all the classes. Like since each chart is present in each of JavaScript files, we are creating an instance of this class, here, here, here. And this all will be created in the main file. And then we will create the year chart update function. So as you can see, we are creating the object of each of the charts that we want to show. Both percentage chart, the time chart, the shift chart, the electrical board chart. So now I have created the objects. And whenever you want to create an object, this is a constructor. Function, you write the class name. So in this way you create a constructor. In the constructor, this object that contains all the local variables and all this stuff. Either you can use this, but for better understanding we use a where cell. So it means now like if this is cell, you can access all your variables, local variables of this class using cell. And these are the functions. Whenever you want to create any member function of this class, so you have to write the name of the class, then dot prototype and dot the name. So init is the name of this function. Init equal to function. Choose class here. This is one function. And inside this function, the first thing you should do is like write where self equal to this. So now self will contain all the variables that you want to access. So let's see what we do in the constructor. In the constructor, the first thing we are doing is just like where self equal to this and call in this init function. In it, we are making some variables like the margin, then we are creating the div for this class, and like all the variables that I need later in other functions like choose class. Yeah. So anything that you want to access throughout the other functions, you have to like give inside the self, like self.svg bound, self.svg height. So in that way, you can use it in the update function whenever you want to create your chart. So that's the way you have to follow. So same thing, constructor is the first one, init will create your div, and the update methods are the main thing that you have to write. How to change the interaction or the visualization, those things will be happening in the update method. So let me go through all the charts on the line. So this is the first chart. This is basically a time scale showing the year of the elections, like from 1940 to 2012. And the color will tell you which party won that election. Like the blue symbolizes for the Democrat and the red symbolizes for the Republican. So for this, you have to, in the readme as we have mentioned, yearwise.csv, yearwise.csv. This file you have to open. This file has like 3 data points basically. The year, the party winner, and like the how much was the difference. So for creating this, this is a pretty simple chart. What you have to do is like you have the width of your SVG. In that you have to fit like 1940 2012, like how many entries you have to figure out first of all. If they are like in this case suppose 16 entries are there. So you have to space your circle. That circle has to be spaced on the basis of 16 points. You have to put 16 points in that SVG there. So that's the first thing you have to take care. These are basically circles. You have to color them according to the CSS type that we have given to you, Democrats and Republicans, on the winner party. Because it contains the D.party, the winner. So D stands for Democrat, R stands for Republican. So if it's Democrat, you have to put the class Democrat in there. So the correct color will come. And by default, it should be like 2012. So whenever I do FI, right, the first thing is 2012. So by default, 2012 is selected. That should be the case. Whenever you do your page loads up, the year 2012 should be selected, and all those things should be filled for that year. And whichever year is selected, the circle should brighten up, like it should like make bigger, and there should be a highlight. We have provided the proper CSS classes for that. So you have to just put that thing in your code. And all the interactions that is happening in this thing are mostly through this year chart only. If I'm doing 1972, the electoral vote chart, the vote percentage chart, and the tie chart should get updated accordingly. So what is happening whenever you're clicking it? So in the main file, I have created the instance of all the charts, and then I'm calling year chart here with all the instances for the electoral vote chart, tile chart, and the vote percentage chart. Because these three charts dependent on the circle. If you change them, there I need this object so that I can call the update function of this class. And initially, you can see here we are opening the file of like 2012. No, we are not opening it. So it will be the update function. So once you are done with the class, the clicking thing, you first figure out what's the year. The data will be like consisting of the year in that, 2012. Open the file with this name. Once you get the year name, what you have to do is like add that name, append that to the year underscore timeline underscore, and then .csv. You have to open that file, see the data, and then call the update functions of all the three objects with this data, and then all the other charts will get updated accordingly. So here we are done with the year chart thing. Next is the electoral vote. So this is like a bar chart, but as you can see, it's not going on the top. Like it's like only one. It's like a stacked bar chart. So this symbolizes the state. Each bar here is the state, and the width of the bar is the total electoral votes. So like California, we can see 45. So here the California will have a bigger width. So that's the thing. So what you have to do here is like, first you have to create your scale. Your scale for x-axis. That should give you the width of each of the bar. So that should be like total, how many electoral votes are there? It's like 550. You can verify that. It's the 550 I guess. You get in the E total B. That will give you the total electoral votes for the selection. and then you have to distribute that 550 in the total width of this region. That will give you the scale. So now suppose California is 55, so 55 accordingly it will give the width of that. So the trick here is, like, first of all you have to sort your data on the basis of parties. The first one is like, let me go to my 1948. We have like 3 candidates. One was independent candidate, one was Democrat, and one was Republican. So first of all, we have to sort the states on the basis of parties. The first one should be the independent, next one is the Democrat, and the Republican. And once.
Yes. So for the independence, will the value be 0?
Yeah, most of the time if it's not there, it will be 0. It's not 0 actually, it's space.
Okay.
It's in the CSS file, it's a blank area there.
Okay.
So you have to check. If it's not blank, then only take it. Otherwise, for independent everywhere, not in the case of electoral votes, for percentage, for the total number of votes, the candidate name, it's blank. If it's not there, you can take it. So now what you have to do here is, like, first of all, you have to sort in the basis of party. The first one should come, the first party should come at the first. Independent party should be at first, then Democrat, and then Republican. Once you have done that, then you have to sort them on the basis of the how much that state is blue or red. By that means, like, if a state is won by Democrats by 35% margin compared to Republican, another state is like 50%, the 35% one should come first. So the more blue the state is, it means more democratic. It has, and that value will get in RD difference, Republican Democrat difference. That's in the review I mentioned it. So if it's negative, as the variable name is like RD difference, Republican Democrat. It's negative, it means Democrat won that state. And if it's positive, Republican won that state. So based on that, you have to sort your data. So as you're seeing here, we are going from the most democratic state, darker blue, to the least democratic, this area. Sorry, least democratic, but Democrat won that area. And then we are going to the more Republican. That's how this sorting should be done. Darker blue, then like neutral region, and then the higher red. And the color scale we have provided you. The color scale is, you can see here. Yeah, this is the color scale that we provided. So whenever you are calling the gear chart function, you should pass this color scale to them so that you can use the color scale in all the charts.
So those are the different margin differences that you can find, like they vary from -60 to +60, and each of them is associated with one particular carbon. So it's easy for you to know.
And -60 is the most democratic, and +60 is the most. So once you have done that, now the thing is how to stack this chart actually. There are two ways. One way is like you can go to the dc.stack.layout. That's like the standard way of doing it. But like they are done when like there are 5 to 6 values. Like there are 5, 6 more charts. But since we are dealing with here only with one chart, what you can do is like you have your X scale which gives you the width of each chart. So what you can do is like the initial point of the first state is 0. So what should be the point of the next state? It should be the previous point plus the width of that state, right? So you have to like keep track of that thing. So that will give you the point of the next state at any other time. So till if now I'm here and this is my 5th state, it will be the width of all the 4 states before, starting plus this. That's my 5th state. So simple thing. Second state is like x plus 1, x plus the width of previous state. Third state is like till now you know the width plus the previous points. So in that case you will get all the points, get the x points, and then it's like a bar chart where the x points will be given by the state point, and the width is your scale. You have to keep the small things also here at the middle. Stars and all those things. They have provided the CSS descriptor for that. You can go to README. It's very straightforward. Yeah. All the states are it. much difference between this and this in the third chart. It's the same thing, just like different values we are populating. So you will be constructing the same way, or you are constructing it with the word chart. And
You will want the name of the nominees that are showing up on this chart here, and the vote percentage with which Democrats have won, or the total vote percentage of each party.
so like 40% is like right here, 49 is done by Democrats, 2.4 by the independents. Now this is the final chart. This is basically we have here what you have to do is like these are states and with their total number of electoral votes. This 4 is the number of electoral votes for the state, and the color is again the color scale that we have provided you. So how you have to create this? These are basically rectangles, but we have placed the rectangle in a matrix kind of thing. So what we have done is it's like your SVG is like total SVG with less height. Consider this as a matrix. Now you have to fit like 12 columns and 8 rows actually. So there are like 12 states combinated here from the left side to right side, and the height wise there are 8 states. So now you have to put your blocks basically. So you have to calculate the height and like the width of your each state block. How you do that? Like divide by 12, divide by 8, you get the height, and if you divide the width by the columns by 12, you get the width of your box actually.
So there's not a special cartogram layout or anything like
No,
that?
nothing
It's
like that.
just
Just yeah.
calculated, okay.
Calculate. No, I'm just saying each box fetch.
Right.
But then, since we are trying to like put this state according to the map, like Alaska is like Alaska is not like this. So this is kind of resemblance to a map. Alaska is like here, you can see that. So what you have given is in the data, every state has 2 values. Row gives you the which row in this matrix you should get. It starts from 0 actually, 0 to 7. And the space is a column. So with that you can figure out where to put your box. You know the size and height and width of your box. You know the location. You just like do a simple math calculation and it will like put this here. And this tooltip, you can see that the tooltip is how it's showing. It shows the state of the name with a red color. Means the Republican is the winner. The total number of electoral votes, and then all the nominees or the who are like in the election. For making your task easy, they have given you the all the code for the tooltip. The only part you have to do is just create the data structure for it. There are 2 tooltips, right? In the state chart and only in the electoral vote chart,
In the vote percentage chart and the dial chart, you have to.
These are the tooltips behind them. So we should. So this is a function here. This is a function. You have to create this kind of data structure. There is a state name, winner, electoral vote, and this is again an adding factors. If you get data structure and pass to this function, the tooltip will start to come.
And you should call the tooltip at the appropriate place. Right now we have not given that to you, so once you do your visualization, just look for the place where you want your tooltip to show up and make a call to the appropriate function so that it shows up.
Basically, there is a reference I have given for the tooltip here. This is the thing code. So there are 2 lines you have to add when you are done with this. Let me show you what it is. With your SVG, you have to call the tip function, and whenever you want to show it, you have to do this. On mouse over tip.show, on mouse over tip.head, and that's it. The tooltip you have to do. Again, you have to place the abbreviation name, the state in the middle, everything should change accordingly whenever they change it. And that will be taken care of. You have to take on with the brush.
So within the tile chart, you might want to show up this legend. So it gets easy for you to understand what your electoral vote chart and tile charts are representing. So the margin that we talked about, which varies from -60 to +60, there are different colors associated with it. So you might want to show this so that you know that the extreme red indicates percentage margin of 50 to 60%. So for this, we've provided with some boilerplate code that you can use to have the legend implemented. All that you need to do is just make a call to this legend at the appropriate location so that it starts showing up and align that accordingly. So there's not much that you have to do from scratch for this part. And coming to the brush, so the brush is nothing but it allows you to make a selection on any given visualization so that you can explore it further, explore that selection further. So here you'll be doing the same. So now in your electoral vote chart, you cannot really understand which bar represents which state. So when you just select over particular range, you can see the different states that are selected from left to right. So your brush helps you do this. When you look for sources online to see how to implement brush, just make sure you just understand the difference between how it's implemented in version 4 and version 3, because there are just slight changes there. So you might just run up with errors if you use version 3 codes. And you're also provided with some basic code for implementing brush, so you can just take on from that point. So whenever you define your brush, you just give the extent as the total SVG space from the left to the right of the whole electoral vote chart. So that is your whole extent. And your brush will capture 3 different events, which will be the start, the brush, and the end. So the start is nothing but when you just start the selection, that is what it captures. And the move is when you're just moving the brush within the space, which is between the start and end events. And the end is when you complete the selection. So what you are asked to do here is once the selection is done, you want to populate all the state list that are selected. So you might want to use the end event of the brush. So on the end event of the brush, you should make a call to an appropriate function that will find out which states fall within the range. So in this function, what you are supposed to do is so this variable, that is the 3 even selection, will give you the coordinates for the selected space. Like you'll get the x coordinates and the y coordinates for the whole selected space. And one extension, if you are left with time, would be you can just do brush snapping, which is like you see that the first rectangle is selected in half, the first bar is selected in half, and the last bar is selected in half. So these are not falling within the range. So they just have this from the brush selection. You'll have to just iterate over all your states or the rectangles and see which of these rectangles fall within this range. And once you have this, just populate selected elements to a list and send that to your shift chart. That will populate the brush selection for you. But ideally, if you wanted to make it look more user-friendly, you might want to just, once the selection is done, you might want to snap it to the whole rectangles, like the whole units. So that is called as brush snapping. So if you're left with time, you can probably just explore how you do that and make it better. So once you have this list of selected states, you'll send it to the shift chart. And the shift chart right now in your task file, you'll not be doing anything other than just displaying the state names. So that is a very basic implementation of brush and just showing up the list. And coming to the task 6, which is the voter shift visualization design. Once you know the list of states that you have to work with, what we want to understand is how much these states have shifted compared to the previous year. If suppose one state is 30% Democrat in the previous year and now it is 60% Democrat, so the difference is it has shifted 30% towards being Democrat. So that is what you want to visualize, like how the states have shifted from the previous year to the current year. For this, you'll use 2 different attributes from your data, which will be The shift and we're sorry, we need to change this variable. It is shift tooltip. So the shift will give you the percentage of the shift, and shift tooltip will give you the direction in which it is shifted, whether it was right or left. Wherein the right indicates it being more Republican. Yeah, right indicates it being more Republican,
Right is Republican,
and
left is Democrat.
yeah, left is Democrat. So you will have to use this data to understand what you have to plot for your sketch. So for the 6 stars, we don't want you to implement the visualization, but we just want you to come up with any visualization design and give a sketch of it. So you'll just have to show 2 different visualizations that will capture the information of the states that are selected and the shift with which and the shift that they've seen in this current year. So you'll show 2 different visualizations, and you'll also have to argue about why do you think this visualization is better than the other choices that you have in mind. So you should give some advantages of using this visualization. And for your extra credit, which is brushing over years, you just have to do what you've done for task 5, that is brushing over electoral vote chart. So you'll do the same to brush over the years, and you'll make your brush selection show the number of years that are selected within that range. So it is just similar to that, but it's over a different chart. And once you're done with this, if you are going to the extra credit 2, that will be implementing these visualizations, like the best visualization that you've got. For the whatever, like you will probably come up with 2 visualizations, right? So along with that, you'll couple the year chart selection and show how the different selected states have progressed over the years that are selected. Or if you're not working with year selection, you just show how these states have shifted over a certain number of years. That's up to you. Like you can just show it between 1968 to 2000 or something like that. You can just have a specific range and you can show the shift over this range. So that you'll be doing for extra credit 2, and that's it. If you have any questions.
Can you please explain part 6 one more time?
Sorry?
Part 6.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Part 6.
Part 6. The shift chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the margin with which, if Alaska has, in Alaska, if the Democrats have won in the current year, and previously the Democrats have also won in the previous year, but with a margin of 30%. Like the difference between the Republicans and Democrats is 30%, and Democrats have won. And in the current year, the Democrats have won with a margin of 60%. If this is the scenario, then you'll see that the shift is 30% towards the left. That is, it has become more Democrat by 30%. You understand that? So now that you have the different selected states, what you want to do is show this sort of a shift to these selected states.
So we have to show the amount of the shift and show in which direction.
Yeah.
To Democrat.
There are different ways with which you
That
can
you have
do
to
it,
come up
like
with
how you want to show the shift.
Yeah.
So there are different ways to do that. So we want you to understand which one is better to understand this kind of a scenario.
Which can portray more information.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Should we show the dotted line?
Yeah, like I want you to like pull the new code actually. Yes, I have made some CSS changes. So you put the new code, and there is already a CSS for that. Year chart, something like that. Text.
So you'll have to
Year
just
line chart. Sorry.
implement a line chart and use a CSS, appropriate CSS class which will do that.
Just a line.
One more thing. Electoral vote, are we sorting these elements, each of these elements?
Yeah, we are sorting the states on the basis of party difference.
Okay. And which encodes the...
Yeah, with your scale actually, it encodes the electoral votes.
Okay, that is different.
Yeah.
If sorting is different.
No, sorting is based on the how Democrat or how Republican a state is.
Okay.
It's based on party difference. This is based on D total EV or something like that.
Okay. just as an example, because he had a question. This is a really complicated version of what we are expecting you to do, but this is one of the examples. Like, if these are different, each of these bars indicate different states, and this will be the margin with which they will run, and each layer of that will represent different years. So each of these are different years, and within that you'll see the shift of each state, and the shift values you can see on the x-axis there. We are not expecting you to do this or something like this, but just variations of this. Any other questions you have?
They will start doing it. It won't take much time.